Good evening. My name is James K. Holder II. Some of you may know me as Sir James II. I'd like to welcome you back to the Weekend 10. This is my 10-minute breakdown of the week's top 10 stories and giving you what to look forward to in your weekend. Now, I hope you all will have a safe and enjoyable Cinco de Mayo tomorrow. And in future celebrations, we are all gearing up for the big royal wedding, which is happening in 15 days. Now, this is where Prince Harry is getting married to Rachel Zane, aka Meghan Markle, and she is the biracial American from Compton who was a former model and now fabulous actress on the show Suits that airs on USA. I think they're in their last season. But I'm going to be watching this wedding. I'm not big on the royals, but I love Meghan Markle. I have since before any of this. And Prince Harry is also pretty interesting in and of himself. So we're going to be following that and just giving you something to point out to and look forward to in the festivities. Speaking of family planning, Iowa's governor just signed the nation's most restrictive anti-abortion legislation. Now, this has been like a pretty big story just within the fight for reproductive rights. And it's actually kind of tragic because it follows a wave of successes, legislative successes in the criminalization of abortion and also in the attempts to defund Planned Parenthood. Now, it's not all bad because a Democratic minority in the state of South Carolina just actually, based on a filibuster, blocked similar legislation from passing in South Carolina. So don't let them tell you that both parties are the same. Don't let them tell you that a minority can't have an impact because they actually can. And I'm grateful for what the Democrats have done in South Carolina, and I definitely want to focus more on giving credit where it's due. I think Democrats get a bad rap as the minority party in many of these state houses and legislatures in conservative places like Iowa and South Carolina that are just going to be conservative anyway. So, you know, the fact that Democrats were able to block that in the first state to secede from the Union, I think is actually pretty significant. Kudos to the Democrats. But we'll be watching that story. Now, another sad point for our nation and we have to just call it what it is. The Trump administration is one of cruelty. That is the basis of their actions. I can't even say that it's about, cronyism or corruption. It's just about being cruel. They have rescinded protective immigration status for 50,000 Hondurans. Now, this is similar to the way that it was done for people from the country of Liberia just a couple of weeks ago. And so now we're seeing this onslaught. Not only is it immigration from people from Mexico, it is also in all of the S-hole countries, as he refers to them. So, and along with the Hondurans, the 50,000, we're talking about, these are people who have had protection in the United States for at least about the last 20 years. And then in addition to that, you're talking about 90,000 Central Americans will be impacted by similar legislation that was also rescinded today. Sad times. Speaking of the Orange Menace, Donald Trump spoke at the NRA today. No doubt when he spoke, guns were actually banned from his speech, as they have been banned for future speeches with Vice President Michael Pence. And it really is ironic that these guys get out there and shuck and jive and talk about how pro-gun they are, but they can't be seen in a venue that has guns accessible, so that's why you took their guns away. But you go there to promote the fact that you're not going to take their guns away so that they can keep giving you money and funding your campaigns. Now, I digress a bit because Donald Trump took this opportunity to praise, again, Kanye West for his effusive praise of Donald Trump. This little love fest is one of sickening disgust. It is making me incredibly sick, but apparently many black men, unlike myself, are not turned off by Kanye West or his endorsement of Donald Trump. A recent poll that many of you are not taking seriously, now this is a Reuters poll that was described in an article by MSN that discussed the doubling of support for Donald Trump. Now, this is referencing the time prior to prior to Kanye West's endorsement of Donald Trump within the last 2 weeks, that the shift in support for Donald Trump among black men went from about 11% to 22%. Now, Donald Trump cited this poll in his rally and speech to the NRA. This is very dangerous, and I want to just point out clearly, you can criticize this poll all you want, you can criticize Kanye West all you want, but the reality is there are many pockets of black men who are easily swayed. They blow like the wind when it comes to voting. And a lot of people who vote in this country or respond to these polls aren't taking a categorical assessment of policy when they answer these questions. It's just, how do I feel about this person, yay or nay? So if someone who they admired all their lives, like Kanye West, now comes out and says they love Donald Trump and let's explore supporting Donald Trump as a form of a solution, then there are going to be shifts in that number. I think many people are shocked that it's as high as double, but when you think about the fact that 12% of black men voted for Donald Trump in 2016, and about 7% voted third party or voted for someone else, it really isn't hard to shift that undecided non-Democrat vote to a Republican. So the fact that shift from 12 to then 11 to 22 is really much more like a soft 19 to 22 based on the fierce recommendation of Kanye West. And it's not like Kanye West made one comment or one tweet. It's been a whole tour to get promotion for Donald Trump. And so we're not going to talk about Kanye West or the motives behind that, but just the fact that there is a galvanizing power behind Kanye West, as unstable as he is, and we need to be aware of it and we need to take it seriously going into the 2018 elections. Now, speaking of 2018, early voting in the state of Georgia has already started. That started earlier this week, and so it's very important that as we proceed, the primary is going to be held May 22nd. The final day to vote early voting in Georgia is going to be Friday, May 18th. That's typically how it works. Early voting ends the Friday prior to the election, and then you have to vote on that Tuesday, the 22nd. It's very important that we all get out and vote. I personally will be supporting Stacey Abrams. She has made several visits to my community here in Castleberry Hill. Stacey Abrams, I know her from her support of groups like the New Georgia Project that I worked with, and I also know her from the fact that she actually is the only candidate running who spoke at the Democratic Convention in Philadelphia and supported thoroughly Hillary Clinton. And so for that, I see her as a unifier in the party. I see her as someone who's been dedicated to the ideals. She's been endorsed by a number of people that I support, where her opposition has not been. I have not been impressed by what I've seen from her competition on the Democratic side, and I've been terrified by what I've seen from her competition on the Republican side. I will tell you, as someone who lives in the state of Georgia and watches television here, I have been disgusted by the ads of Cagle and also Kemp, who have featured imagery of police barbed wire fences, police officers and cars, guns themselves. One guy has, I think it's Brian Kemp, who is the current the Secretary of State of Georgia, is running an ad that features him holding a shotgun in front of a guy who is going to take his teenage daughter out, and he's grilling the guy on his daughter, holding a shotgun. At the end of the video, he points the shotgun at the guy after cocking it. It really isn't the imagery I want for the state of Georgia or anywhere in this country, and it shouldn't be tolerated, it shouldn't be supported. So I'm encouraging you all to vote Democratic in the gubernatorial race that happens in November, but along with that, prior, I want you to support Stacey Abrams for the governor of Georgia in the Democratic primary. That early voting is going on right now. Speaking of future elections, we've got an early New Hampshire poll that is not good news for Democratic primary contender of 2016, Bernie Sanders, who many people are trying to say should run in 2020. This particular poll placed him third behind Joe Biden and also Elizabeth Warren, not necessarily in that order. for the winner of the New Hampshire primary. Now, I am one of these people who just doesn't really believe that states like Iowa and New Hampshire should get the first bite at the apple when it comes to determining who the Democratic nominee is, but it is what it is, and that's the system that we have. So unfortunately, you're going to have super lily white candidates who are always going to get a first bite at the apple in terms of getting early support within the party based on support from states like Iowa and New Hampshire that are almost exclusively white, despite the fact that the Democratic Party's coalition is based primarily of people of color. But that's just my 2 cents. So I would say it's a little bit too early to get a real answer off of these polls. The poll featured other names like Kamala Harris, who didn't poll very well. And it doesn't surprise me that someone like Kamala Harris wouldn't poll very well in a state like New Hampshire as compared to someone like Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, and also Bernie Sanders, who, by the way, won the Democratic primary in New Hampshire. Maybe it has something to do with all the voter data he stole from Hillary Clinton's voters, but again, I digress. It doesn't matter because when it came down to it, he beat Hillary Clinton at something like 60-30-ish in that actual race. So that's just something to look out for. One of nature's miracles is also taking place in the United States right now. I am one of the people who's grateful that it's not happening in the continental United States, but a volcano that erupted in the big island of Hawaii has also, I believe, triggered a 6.9 magnitude earthquake to happen on the same day. Could you imagine being at home and seeing molten lava streaming past your front door, starting fires in your lawn, and then facing a magnitude 6.9 earthquake at the same time? Kind of terrifying. I'm sure the people in Hawaii think they're in hell again, which is not unusual for them after an alert and warning of a nuclear bomb was falsely set off in the state. My heart goes out to the people of Hawaii because they are dealing with it tooth and nail, and part of me feels like there's just some branch of the Trump administration that wants to troll residents of the home state of Barack Obama. But again, that's just more conspiracy, and I don't want to promote conspiracies here. Praying for the people of Hawaii, hoping that they are all well, but also you just have to be in awe of nature's sheer power, magnitude, and force. And also, as of right now, area newspapers are reporting that there are no tsunamis associated with those earthquakes that happen in Hawaii. So hopefully other people won't be impacted by the earthquake. Speaking of tragic meltdowns, in our final story, it is very unfortunate that I have to report to you that Rudy Giuliani, the disgraced former mayor of New York, is still talking. And right now, he's walking back statements that he made that followed. Okay, so if you've been following the story, Rudy Giuliani is now speaking on behalf of the president to the press. In such speeches, he has divulged lots of information that many would immediately assume was discrediting to the president, admitting things that the president had previously claimed weren't true or didn't happen. Rudy Giuliani then said that he spoke with the president, who is very pleased with his performance, and that he doesn't anticipate being fired. And as of today, in another walking back of all the things that he ultimately walked back based on president's statements, is now saying that he didn't really say what he meant to say then, and now he's clarifying all of the statements, which I'm not going to get into the mental incapacity or capacity of Rudy Giuliani, but just the fact that one of the least trusted people in America to ever be president is now being guided and spoken for by one of the least trusted people to ever be the mayor of the city of New York. And it's disgraceful, it's distasteful, it's dissatisfying, it's disgusting, and I hope it ends soon. However it ends, I want it to happen. I really wish Rudy would just focus on that bottom row of teeth and his third divorce. And without further ado, I would like to conclude this cast by inviting you to again enjoy a safe and enjoyable Cinco de Mayo, and to ask you to relax, relate, and resist. Thank you.